Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Spilling the Tea on GovCon. I'm Teresa Moon, Vice President of Communications and Marketing for Parabolis. We are the preeminent partnership for government contractors, providing holistic support that includes a line of credit to fund your growth. The purpose of this podcast is to assist small businesses with success in the federal marketplace by introducing them to industry experts and resources that they may not otherwise know about. Today, we welcome my friend, Dondre Lawson, CEO of Emerald Technical Solutions. Dondre and I met a couple of years ago at a VETS conference here in Orlando, and we keep in touch between events that we both frequent throughout the year. I am a huge fan of all of the great work he not only does with his company, but in his advocacy and support of the veteran community. This has been a really long time coming, my friend, so thank you very much for joining us today, Dondre.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here today. Thank you for inviting me out to the podcast, and hopefully I can give some good information about what we're doing and about just being in our space.
Yeah, and that is my hope as well. I have no doubt. I think you've done a great job of becoming really well known in our community, but you're also doing a lot of great things that I want to give you the forum to be able to share about. But before we get into any of that, I want you to talk to us a little bit about yourself and your own personal journey. You've built your career across military service and entrepreneurship, and I'd love for you to be able to share a little bit about that journey and what led you to founding Emerald Technical Solutions.
Okay, so I love saying this. I've been a nerd since day one. Atari, Sega Genesis, Nintendo 64. I'm gonna keep going, right? Playing video games throughout a large majority of my life. And then when I turned 18, I decided to join the greatest branch, which is the Army. Just make sure I get that in there. And I've been in the Army since 2011. I'm still a Maryland National Guard troop. Just was found out that I'm now a Master Sergeant. So
congratulations.
It was promoted to E8 here, and we should have a promotion ceremony shortly. And I've been working just towards solving issues. And most of the issues that we solve now are technical problems for customers, both select customers, commercial customers, and federal customers. And someone's always having an IT problem, like we just talked about. But, throughout my military career, like when I kicked it off, I was doing HF, ham radios, RF, PRIC 117s, RT 1523s for my signal people out there, and doing a lot of radio operator work, and then transition into some more like computer work as a 25 Bravo. And that's what I've been doing in the military since the inception, right, of the career. 6 more years left, and I'll be able to retire at 21 years, which would be great. And then I'll go move somewhere warm, maybe Florida.
There you go.
Come to Florida. And during that time, I've been interweaving personal life, right? I've been interweaving family and community and interweaving some other like education, right? Like the Army's been able to pay for my associate's degree and my bachelor's and my master's. I was going to do a doctorate program and then realized that was crazy. And I'm not crazy. So I cannot run a business and then also be in a doctoral program. And so we did that. I came home I deployed to the Middle East in 2017, came home from a deployment, and I worked for a couple of defense contractors in the Aberdeen Proving Ground area. And my final defense contractor, which is one of our probably best and greatest partners, was CACI. I was there as a lead systems engineer. Me and my COO now, who's my project manager on that contract, we worked there. And I ended up figuring out, I guess, a little bit about how GovCon worked, but was unsure about all the great things we go to, like the MBSBC and Novobla and Veterans in Business. And I didn't know about any of these programs. So I started a business. I was working as a one-man show, 1099, and didn't really understand kind of some of the other intricacies of running and owning a business especially as a service disabled veteran-owned small business. And so I've been rolling along, right? I've been learning and rolling along, but that's kind of my very bluff story of how I got into the space. I know a lot of people do jump in the space and I'm going to start a business today. And they're like, well, do you have customers? Do you have people you work with? Do you have customer intimacy? Have you worked for a prime or maybe a large, small before? And you're going to break out because you have some niche or cool thing that you're doing that's going to be beneficial to that customer. And it's probably every other day that we talk to someone or someone's asking questions about it. So hopefully we can bring light to some of those situations.
I love that. And that's exactly why I wanted to have you on. And before we go any further, I just want to thank you for your service. I think it's pretty incredible the way that you've been able to lend yourself to the service of the greater good while you're still building a life and a business for you and your family. So that's wonderful. And we appreciate you very much. I have to believe that a lot of your experience in the military has shaped your approach to leadership and in your ability to build your business. To your point earlier, it's a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to start this business. And have you done all of these things that should be required on the front end before the business is actually established? I'd love to get some of your experience about how your roles within the military has shaped that approach and how it's affected how you lean into leadership and really not only starting your business, but building it and growing it.
Yeah, so I have a thought process on leadership, and maybe later on when I retire, I'll write a book about it, but it's called Stacking Mentors or Stacking Leaders. And in our company today, like for one, a good example of this is like, I'm not good at operations. Like I'm good at like attacking issues, like going after problems, technical responses, IT, right? Like I'm fairly good at IT. When it comes to like PMO work, operations, managing people, employees, that is not one of my strong suits, right? And that's why we have a powerhouse COO, right? When it comes to some other things, right? Like we talked about your financial piece, right? Like having a good financial partner, having good people in your corner. I think a lot of CEOs initially go with well, you have to, right? You're the chief everything officer. And so you're sitting there, you're like, I gotta run, I gotta do our books. I gotta make sure all the transactions we just did, I gotta reconcile these bank statements. That might be like half your day. The other half of the day might be answering questions from your customer. And the other half of the day might be, hey, we just hired 2 people. What does this HR onboarding process look like for those individuals? And so when everyone starts their business, they're doing everything because that's just what people do. What I'm finding out now is like, as we're starting to expand and go into different places and different markets, I can't do everything. And some people on my team can't do everything. And so my leadership styles begun to change of like, before I would be like, I'm working with you. Like I want to do it with you because I'm a doer or I just want to have my hands on stuff. And now I'm like, well, is this strategic for us to put this person in place to be able to do this thing, right? And it's very difficult for me, right, to change. Even now, right, I'm a master sergeant, and people are like, hey, just go get some soldiers to do that. Like, you don't have to do that. Like, we know you want to do it, but you can't do that. And so that's been like a really big thing for me. But my biggest takeaway from like all of the best leaders that I've seen, and it doesn't matter where it is, if it's infantry guys, if it's scouts, if it's artillerymen, if it's radio operators, signal people, cooks, the best leaders work with their people, right? And they get dirty with the people at any time. Like they can get active at any time, right? They're not, well, let's sit behind this computer in this desk and bark orders at people. They will jump in and say, okay, what's the issue? Let's fix it. And then if they've helped you with the same issue a couple of times, then they might start talking about remedial training, right? Train the trainer situation. Let's continue to give you the information that you need. And so you could just do it yourself. You could be successful at doing it yourself in comparison to, okay, I've helped you. I'm not going to keep doing it, but those are the best leaders. Like those are the people that are not micromanaging. They're not being passive aggressive in their leadership style. They are just there for the mission, right? It doesn't matter at what your rank is, what your position or title or grade is. Like I've seen SESs come and help GS9s, right? Because they're like, hey, I was a GS9 before. Now I'm an SES. This is what I did, right, during this time. And that's what everybody has to kind of take in consideration as you're going down this leadership journey, especially for new business owners, because you can't change, right? If you see, I was at NVSPC and we're talking about just, break points in your career. And I said, I saw a PO for $1 million. And I think I cried. I was like crying. And I was like, well, we have money coming in, but I think I'm still the same person, right? I don't want to change me, right? I don't want to change the type of leader that I am. I just like, let's get the job done. If there's customers that have issues, let's work on it and knock it out.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I couldn't agree with you more. I think, especially from an executive leadership perspective, you referred to it as the chief everything officer. And because of that, you know the inner workings of your business. So as your business grows, you know what it takes to tackle it, whether it's your expertise or not. It's either hire that qualified person that can step into that role that's not your expertise, and then work with those that do have qualifications that you share with them to really build on that. And I think those are the efforts that really, if you're doing everything, you're the single point of failure of your company, because if for some reason you can't be there, then all of the things that you do aren't going to run in your absence. And we've talked about it several times on the show before with other guests about that very point, that you thinking that you have to do everything is just limiting the potential success of your business as a whole. So I think it's wonderful that you highlighted that. And I know that given that you're still a reservist, you're still one foot in to that public service, but you've also got your hands, which being a reservist has allowed you the opportunity to do, is in that private side and run a business for yourself. But the journey and transition from full-time military to civilian work, it can be a complex process for many people. And we're going to dig into that a little bit more, but I'd love for you to share any experiences personally with challenges, and what gaps did you see when you were transitioning into this civilian workforce with your company itself? Because I know a lot of what your advocacy and charitable work and with the veteran community is focused on is really that transition into the workforce and filling in the gaps that you probably experienced yourself, so you can help that next generation of military personnel not have to face that same issue.
Yeah, the two biggest things for me is like, when I came out of theater in 2017, I think it was 17, we came out of theater, we got back home. You do a reintegration training, right? You go through this process. There's someone teaching you about what you can do or what you need to do to come back into jobs. And as a National Guardsman and or a reservist, it's more difficult, because now you are going to either have to combat or battle a employer that might have moved your position around. You might not have a position there, but then we start talking about USERRA rights and that act. And then if you are in a new position, it's probably something you don't know how to do. And I've seen that we're like, well, we don't want to get sued by this person. Let's just move them somewhere else and they'll figure it out. We'll figure it out when they get back. And the employer and the person that's paying the employer for that position, everyone should be in alignment to understand, like, hey, this reservist, this person is going and leaving their family, right? Because now it's not like active duty where you're seeing their family every day, right? Unless they're deployed. They're going to leave their family. That family now is going to be in a weird position or predicament. They're going to come home from a deployment, and who knows where they got deployed to, what type of deployment it was, whether it's combat, whether it's non-combat. And now they need to be reintegrated back into civilianality, right? They need to be a civilian again. It isn't go back into your PCS to a new duty location. You might spend 2 to 3 months off, or a month off, and you come back and you're back in uniform. It might be, hey, now I'm struggling trying to find a job, or I left my job and I didn't like it, and now I'm trying to figure out what I need to do. And obviously, like, you complain and do things like that, but that to me is the one biggest piece of, like, you leave the country, deploy as a reservist, and you come back home, and now you're trying to figure out what to do, right, and how to do it. And another thing too is when people are going to transition, right? Let's say you're a lieutenant colonel or sergeant major, and you're going to transition. A lot of businesses will go, well, I know Teresa Moon just retired as a full-bird colonel. I know she's probably going to get 90% disability, 80% disability. And then I'm looking at her retirement pay, because it's public knowledge, right? And if we're in a state that isn't taxing your retirement, shout out to Florida, right? If you're in a state that's not taxing your retirement, now I'm gonna maybe adjust your salary based off of those things. But those things really should be like, they should fall in the same category as, you're not going to pay me less because you're a woman or I'm an African American male. or I'm a service disabled veteran, or I just got out of the service for 20 years. You're not going to pay that person less money because of those things. There's just their background, right? And that's where they're from. But employers like, oh, well, that person really should be 130. We're going to give them 80 and probably fine because they don't know, right? They've been in uniform for so long. They're unsure about what does a salary, actual good salary for me look like, because I haven't worked in another civilian employer. I've been working for the government. So what should I be looking for? And where's the transparency behind those roles, right? And if you notice, like in the last probably 5 to 7 years, people post, for the most part, people are posting their salary ranges, right? Before, there was no salary range, but there are ranges out there. There are people that are, let's just be transparent and truthful. If you got me at 20 years if I'm shooting for a VP level job or executive level job, and I'm coming out as a command sergeant major, I'm coming out as, one of the higher ranking field grade officers, I know how to command people and teams of people. Pay me what I deserve. And for the veterans that are transition, you got to do your research, right? Because if company A is saying 80, but company B is saying 150, why is the delta so different? Like what's going on? And talk to the company, right? Maybe you do hey, I got another company offering me this money. Like if you're going out to sell yourself, that's what you need to be focused on. And so for me, those are really the two biggest things, at least from a reservist and from someone who's seeing active duty folks and AGR reservist transition, is saying, hey, I'm looking for a job, but I'm really unsure about like what's the max amount of money I could get on a salary. If you're coming out of a place with experience of 20 years, and they're in an executive position, like military executive position, depending on your state, right? Depending on where you are, if you're in the DMV area, if you're a Nova, you're probably 180 to 200,000, right? Depending on the type of job. And I think that transparency it still isn't there. It's getting better, but it's not there.
I had no idea that the retirement status was public record for someone to look into and then use that information to lowball a qualified potential employee, a candidate for a role. That just sounds ridiculous to me. But unfortunately, it's obviously the world that we live in, because you've just made reference to it. And I think, if nothing else, I've been doing interviews this week because we're hiring at our company. And the one thing I always come away with is the answer is always no unless you ask, right? And so if it is what you believe to be a lowball offer, you have the right to ask. Obviously, there are ways to do it that are going to be more beneficial to you in the long run, obviously. But if you've done your research beforehand and you know that the market is saying that this is what you should pay and this is the offer that's being made. But those are skills that not everyone has. It takes a lot of confidence and courage to be like, this is what I think I deserve. This is what my qualifications justify. And not a lot of people work that into their employment process or gaining employment process. And so I think that's a wonderful add-on that you put in there that I wasn't even aware of. I was thinking more along the lines of, I performed these duties within my military role that are applicable to this. And how do I really make the transition between how it worked in the military and how it would work for a private enterprise? And so I love that you've highlighted something that I wasn't aware of. So I guarantee there's others that are listening to us aren't aware of as well. And I think the beautiful transition from that conversation into what you're doing on behalf of advocacy efforts for the veteran community is that you've established MilRes. And Emerald Technical Solutions is doing wonderful work. And I want you to be able to highlight that work as well, because it's important for you to be able to utilize this show to engage with our listeners that are on government side that don't know about you yet. So when they see your name come across their desk in whatever capacity that they say, oh, I heard a podcast with that guy and he had great insight. And so we definitely want to mix that in. But I want to ask you a few questions, since we've segued into it, about MilRes and the connection that it provides with veterans and defense contractors using AI. So I'd love for you to be able to share a little bit more about that initiative and the problem it's solving.
Yeah. So just like when we go bid on government contracts, right? When anyone goes to bid on a government contract, they're selling invisible people to the government, especially this, right? And so we joke about it, but it's the truth. Like how many people is it going to take you to complete this job or do this thing, right? And so the invisibility trait aspect of when you transition or when you go to your next role, what am I going to expect? Is it going to still have the same type of team vibe? Am I going to feel like, is the camaraderie going to be there? Maybe I want to go to Florida, or maybe for some reason I want to move to California and be taxed 13% on my disability, right? The coming out of the VA or my pension, my retirement. And all of those things are maybe not negative things, but those are things that people have to think about when they transition. The transitionary process right now for someone takes a while, right? You're talking about a week of classes from a 3-letter agency. They give you classes and you go through this process. There's a day that someone teaches you how to do a resume. There's a day that someone teaches you about how you should dress and talk to people. And it's really not direct. Now, and I know I'm not the only person. I know there's some other people out there that are also tackling the issue. Why is it a problem? Problem statement. The government spends $13 billion a year on transitionary services, and then we're spending we also have a contract vehicle for TAPS, right? And if you guys are dumping copious amounts of money in a transition, there should be there should be not a single service member that is competent enough, transitions, and finds a job. No one, period. If you're spending that amount of money on it, period. And so what we love to do is throw technology at everything. And I was starting to build it, was actually in Destin on vacation. And I was just thinking about it. Was something that I was thinking about from vets 2 years ago, vets in 24 in Florida. And we've just been building it, right? We've been quietly building this product for the last 2 years, and it's really robust, right? It is truly robust. There are some good technical traits behind it, some good pipeline engineering behind it to go, how long does it take you to transition? You go fill out the form, you go, I'm Dondre Lawson, I'm retiring, and I've been an Army for 21 years. I'm a sergeant major, I've done 3 deployments. And you enter all your information, and then it will ask you or prompt you, do you have a resume? If you don't have a resume, give us the information and we will build you a resume, right? Now we're going to build this resume for your military career. But there's tons of things in people's military careers that just don't translate well, right?
Yeah.
Like if you are a sapper, special force, you went to selection, gone through selection, you're a special forces guy, soft week was just the beginning of this week, right?
Yep.
You have all these good traits about you, but you really understand and know combat and let's say personal protection, right? There are tons of companies that are hiring private security, and not like mall security, like, hey, you're going to be with this family for a week and you have your high profile security. You need to set a perimeter up. You need to make sure that there's going to be suites. There needs a team of 6 to 10 guys at these locations during these times. You know that better than a lot of people because you've been doing it your whole life. Why is it so hard for that individual that understands, let's just say, infantry tactics, protection tactics in a vehicle, like movement, maybe in an area, a consolidated area with a bunch of people? They know how to attack those issues at the best case. Why is it so hard for them to find jobs, right? Why do we have security companies ran by veterans like, oh, I can't find anybody. I need more people to come in here for these jobs, right? Similar to IT, there are hundreds of thousands of IT jobs open. And if we looked at the amount of people from each branch collectively that retire every year, that have TSSCR clearances, technical acumen, CISPs, CAS, cloud certifications, and you go, how many of those people ended up at these open jobs? The numbers are not good, right? It's like, oh, I know Teresa. She knows some people at GDIT. She saw that I'm about to retire. She also saw the same day on LinkedIn that GDIT is hiring, and she sent me a LinkedIn message, right? A lot of that's happening that way. But for people just to be able to go in the system and do what they need to do, it doesn't happen as fast as it should happen. And it's actually a problem, right? So how are we spending tons of money on people transitioning, but then there's still people complaining about the transitionary process, right? And so MilRes, it takes about 5 minutes for you to do your profile and for you to find a job. Opportunities in real time that you can apply to, right? Real time. There's no charge to the veteran at all. We are in our second pilot phase right now. So we're doing another pilot, adding more veterans to the system from different branches, and they're providing us with feedback, right? So we built it, veterans built it, and now veterans are making it better, right? We're talking about refining the foxhole. Now, I have people that are either in, out, transitioning, technical people like, hey, you guys should really do make this change or add this thing. And right now we're in a, like anyone starting a program, we're funding, right? We're looking for funding, looking for areas where we can say, hey, we want to be able to fund this, not VC, PE, but we want to be able to get this funded and push it, right? Push it to market, because we have roughly 200,000 people that transition out of service every year. There's 200,000 individuals with clearances, probably mostly with clearances, job experience, right? And they're going to be able to bring leadership traits and different aspects about life to your organization, right? And it's not only for contractors. It's not just, it's for the government too, because the government is struggling with finding people as well, right?
Yeah.
We should be able to, especially for veterans, people that serve the country, we should be able to find those individuals jobs. And it's probably the second most passionate thing I'm about. The first one is our interns, like the youth, because we're getting older, not old, but we're getting older. And there's people coming behind us. You're going to want to know how Teresa Moon got to the place that she's at, how Dondre Lawson got to the place that he's at. And I think that we're trying to use MilRes as a platform to really just show metrics, like relatable metrics of like, hey, I transitioned 200 Army people this month and they all got jobs and no one spent a dollar, or at least for the employers or for the transition members, no one spent a dollar. And we have a commitment to our employers, right? We're charging $17.75 a month because we know Continental Army, unofficially, right? Continental Army, first branch before everything else started. And we're locking that rate in forever. Like we won't ever charge any more money than that, right? So you tell me in the GovCon space where you can spend, what is that? That's like $21,000 a year, right? You get credits, similarly, you get credits for AI, you get your AI tokens. You get some tokens or credits, and you can recruit X amount of people off of it per month. Now, if you want to add or do more, you can do that as well. But that's all we're going to charge, right? And
that's less than they'd be charged if they were working with a recruiting firm.
For one person, right? So recruiters is 25-30% on the head for somebody, right? Oh, I found Teresa. She's coming out of the military as a financial analyst and or whatever position you'd be in. And I got her resume. We're going to sell it to you. Essentially, you're selling me Teresa. And you're like, okay, we'll pay the money. We need her to go on this position, but why don't we do that, right? And it's like one of those unspoken rules at GovCon. It's like people use a ton of recruiting agencies because, and I get it, if it's like a quick turnaround, like, hey, we want a contract, we got to staff it in a week. I had to call a recruiting agency. Like I don't have a choice, right? But for people transitioning in that process, it should be, hey, I used this application. It took me 5 minutes. I uploaded a resume or created me a resume. And I found jobs, and I applied to some of those jobs, and I got hired, and then I went to my job. Right? That's what's important about the program, right?
The results, the proof is in the pudding, right? So, how long has this platform been active? I know you worked on it for 2 years. How long have you guys been pushing veteran candidates through the platform?
For the last 3 months, maybe 4 months, because I had some people testing it out, like just privately. But for the last 4-ish months, people have been getting in there, utilizing the program and just giving us feedback.
I love that. How can businesses who want to find candidates from your platform and transitioning veterans find your platform? What's the best way for them to get linked up?
So if they can send an email to info@milres.ai, again, that's info@milres.ai, asking, hey, we'd like to be an employer. And right now, too, for the employers, it's free. We're not charging because we're in a pilot phase, right? And so we have some tools for employers to use to find candidates just as fast as the candidates are finding jobs, right?
Wow.
If you want to privately advertise jobs specifically only to veterans, you can do that as well. And so there's some things that I won't publicly say that are in there. It's pretty cool, right? With the technology
Yeah.
that we've built. And the same thing for veterans. If veterans are looking for a job, or you're looking for a new home, you're like, hey, you go try this out. The process is fairly easy for you to get logged in. It's all web-based. And that's the easiest way to contact us.
Awesome. And so we're going to push this out when we send this out to all of the platforms that have our podcast. We're going to put that email in there, and then we'll be making sure that we're doing it on our socials as well, so that businesses and candidates alike can get involved. And we're going to talk offline because I want to see how Parabolas can support as well, because I think this is a fantastic initiative. When I restarted my career 10 years ago, my first stop was in recruiting, and I worked for a company that claimed to be supporting the transition process from veterans moving into the civilian workforce, and nothing like this was being done on any level. And I see the impact both to industry itself and not just the families that will affect in a positive way. So I am putting my word out right now to let you know that I'm going to help you support it any way that I can. And I think this is great. And I'm going to see you at Vets 26 in a little under 2 weeks. And so we can talk more about that there.
Yes.
But I want to encourage everyone to connect with Dondre Lawson on LinkedIn, and then go to the MilRes and get information at info@milres. What was it again?
AI.ai.
info@milres. So that's MILRES at AI. Right?
Yep. Info.
All right.
At milres.ai. And that
Okay.
the GovCon environment for the longest time it's been monolithic, right? And what I mean by that is, if you pay attention to Doge, and during that time when they came around, there were some positive and negative things, right, out of that Doge team going around. But what they were uncovering of some situations was like, hey, we're spending $10 million for a survey tool that goes nowhere, virtually goes nowhere, right?
Right.
Why are we spending $10 million on that? Similar to me, why are we spending $13 billion-ish on transitionary services for veterans, but Amazon can deliver a package to my house with a drone?
Right.
Why are we paying recruiting firms? And no shade, I'm not throwing shade at recruiting firms, but why do I have to pay you, even if it's 15% of a person that I could have met at the bar, and they could have been like, just transitioning, or like Netflix charged $7 when they started. Right now it's like $27 or something.
Yeah.
They do like 50 billion in revenue or 400 billion in revenue, something crazy every year. On a low subscription, they have a bunch of people using it, but you get such a robust video streaming platform that everyone is like, this is great. I'll keep paying it. I don't even know if it's just Netflix, right? That's how we are attacking this, or trying to approach it. Is like, it's an issue. People don't want to claim that it's an issue, but it is an issue. And if you ask anybody, or lots of veterans from different branches, what was your experience when you had to transition out of the military? And you're like, oh, let me tell you, this was rough, right? And luckily, Teresa Moon got me paired up with some people at Lockheed or GDIT or some small, because she knew the hired people over there, and it worked out. But that shouldn't be the case. It should just, hey, you're coming out of the Army. You come out of the Army with a top secret facility clearance, certifications, job experience, like 15 plus years of job experience, and you're having difficulty finding a job. Is it because is it the person, or is it the accessibility to find jobs? What is it? Right.
Right.
And that's where I'm at with it. Now, again, I thank you for bringing me on. I appreciate it. And we will talk about it in advance.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. And we'll definitely have you back on the show, because I want to talk more about all of the work collectively that you're doing. You referenced your mentorship involvement. We want to talk about that. And we definitely want to be able to give a higher level exposure to all the work that you're doing at Emerald Technical Solutions, of course, as well. So I super appreciate all of your time. I'm looking forward to seeing you very soon. And like I said, we'll talk soon about having you back on the show.
Sounds good.
Awesome. We wish all of you the very best week, and thank you for joining us. As always, we pride ourselves on sharing the most insightful and exciting people and information to help you better navigate your GovCon journey. If you like what you heard today, you can see all of our past podcasts, which are archived on our Parabolas YouTube channel. Stay tuned for all of our future guests in the coming months as we help you grow to great heights in the year ahead. I'm Teresa Moon, and this is Spilling the Tea on GovCon. Have a great day, my friends.